All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for our live webinar, Real-Time Visibility for Smarter Decisions, Empowering CFOs with Sage Intacct. I will be joining Jane Brown for this demonstration. If you have any questions as we go through today's demonstration, please place them in the Q&A down at the bottom of the Zoom call. We have set aside time at the end to answer any questions, so feel free to reach out. A recording of today's webinar will also be sent after. So just quick introductions or quickly to go through the agenda overview for today's 30-minute session. First, we'll kick things off with a quick intro and overview. Then it will take you through, or Jane will take you through the demo, which we can identify cost-saving opportunities quickly, eliminate manual reporting delays, drive smarter, faster decision-making across the organization. And after that, we'll walk through why organizations and customers like you are choosing Sage Intacct to gain real-time visibility and make confident, agile decisions. Lastly, we will save some time at the end for questions and discussions. So let's just jump right in. So my name is Kayla Hall, and I will be your host today. I'm the Sage Intacct Practice Director at CBiz CompuData with over 6 years of experience managing and implementing Sage Intacct, plus 8 years in accounting and finance before that. Specialize in analyzing internal processes, improving efficiencies, and automating workflows. With my deep understanding and expertise in Intacct, I do help drive strategic goals, empower my team, and build strong, lasting client relations. Jane, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everyone for joining. My name's Jane. I am the consulting manager of our Intacct practice here at CBiz. I have been implementing Intacct for 3 years, and I was an end user of Intacct for a couple of years. I come from a strong accounting background, so audit, corporate accounting experience. And Kayla, if you want to jump to the next slide here.
Sure.
There we go. So before I jump into the demo and screen share Intacct, just a little bit about our Sage practice. We are a leading Sage partner with over 30 years of experience in this space. And we have a team of experienced Sage Intacct consultants that bring expertise in many industries across the board. We're also recognized as an award-winning VAR and have been recognized as an award-winning VAR for nearly 20 consecutive years. We boast a 98% customer satisfaction. And we have various accolades, including the ones you're seeing at the bottom: Accounting Today's Top 100, Bob Scott's Top 100 VARs, Bob Scott's VAR Stars, and MSP 501. So just a little bit about us before we jump into the demo. Let me go ahead and steal the screen share here. And if Kayla or Michelle, you could just give me a thumbs up that you can see or just let me know if you can see my screen okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Okay, so let's jump right into the demo here, and we're going to start with dashboards. So I'm in a demo environment, and I'm going to come out to this selection of dashboards. Then I'll start with one of my dashboards out here, this Quick Start CFO dashboard. Now, a dashboard is where a lot of our CFOs and finance leaders start their day in Intacct. At the top here, you're going to see what are called performance cards. So these are snapshots of financial information compared to a prior period or compared to budgeted amounts. These are all actually compared to a prior period, but we can also pull in comparisons to budget if we'd like to. If I take a look at any one of these numbers, we're going to see that this is hyperlinked and that we can actually drill into that. So if I click this 769,233 in operating expenses, that's going to take me out to a report here of OpEx, and it'll show me that total of 769. Now, even further than that, I can actually drill into any of these amounts on the report. So for example, if I wanted to drill into this $663 in expense here for printing and reproduction, that's going to take me to a GL report that substantiates that 663. And then finally, even further than that, I can click into any of these amounts in this GL report and see that source transaction. So in this case, it's going to take me to a $230 bill. I can view the attachment to that bill. I can view the bill entry itself. All of that, again, is coming from this very high level OpEx of 769,000. We can see these red and green indicators here. So green indicates good, red indicates bad. So if our revenue is up from prior quarter, there's a green arrow. If our revenue is down, or if our gross profit is down from prior quarter, that's why we're seeing this red arrow. Outside of performance cards, we're also going to see tasks to the left here. So if I am someone who just wants to immediately see any of my tasks for the day, and that could be anything from approving bills, approving payments, approving POs, approving journal entries, instead of having to navigate through to see those items, I can actually just come out to my tasks, click approve bills, and this is going to show me a list of any bills out here that I need to approve. Same deal with payments, POs. These lists are all going to function exactly the same. And I'm going to be able to click into those and quickly see my tasks. The next thing here is reports. So on the right panel here, I can see my reports section. I have the ability to link to a list of reports like these financial reports. And from here, I can run any of these reports. And then I also have the ability to link to specific reports like my general ledger report. This brings me out to my prompts in order to run my GL report. Outside of those report links, I also am going to see the ability to add what are called smart links. So these are just external links to potentially pages outside of Intacct. So for example, if I wanted a link to my company's homepage here, I could add a smart link to that. That takes me to the CBiz homepage. Maybe Salesforce is something that I use in conjunction with Intacct. I could put a smart link to that. I can add any external links to these dashboards. A couple other components down here. So in the middle here, I'm going to see financial ratios. This just gives us a clear at a glance view of key financial health indicators like cash ratio, quick ratio, current ratio. So you're not having to dig through multiple reports or spreadsheets. Everything that you need to assess liquidity and solvency, for example, is just in one spot. And we're seeing that we've got our year-to-date ratios, we've got our prior year-to-date, and we can see our year-over-year percent change along with a trend indicator. So we're just very quickly able to see those, get a quick pulse check on our ratios here. The other component that we're able to add to dashboards is graphs and charts. So we're seeing just one example here of a line graph. This is for monthly liquidity trends. So again, we get that pulse check on our financial health throughout the year, and we're able to track current and quick ratios month over month to help us assess whether we have enough short-term assets to cover our liabilities. So just another helpful way to spot early signs of risk or confirm that we're staying in a strong position. Outside of these line graphs, just to show you one other example of a dashboard here, if I come out to this other CFO dashboard, I also can do things like donut or pie charts. So we're going to see at the bottom right here, OpEx by department is an example of a pie chart we might make. This is showing my operating expense for every single department. And these numbers are also drillable, just like those performance cards were. Down here, I've got some examples of bar graphs. So net income trend is another example. Really any line, bar, donut, pie, graph, or trend report, or trend that you need to see, we can put into graph format and pull that into a dashboard. Jump back to this dashboard that we were just on. So just a couple general notes on dashboards. You can create as many dashboards as you'd like to create. So there's no limit to the number of dashboards you create. You can permission these dashboards. So I could permission this dashboard so that just my CFO can see it. Or maybe I have a dashboard for department managers that I'd like to just permission to those department managers. I have the ability to control who can see these dashboards. The other thing I'd like to call out is that this is live up to the minute data. So we're not waiting for sweeps. This is real time. So if someone were creating an AP bill, for example, and they posted that AP bill, if I were to just refresh my screen, the impact of that additional AP bill would show up in my OpEx, and that's immediate. Other than that, I just want to call out that you can filter these dashboards. You could filter them by entity. Kayla's going to cover multi-entity toward the end of the webinar. You can also filter by department. So I could come into here and just see my sales department, for example. Alrighty, let's go ahead and jump into reports. So I'm going to come out to my final component on my dashboard, which is for my down here, my P&L, actual versus budget, quarter to date. So in addition to all the other components we talked about, we can also add financial reports to these dashboards. So that's where we're seeing this P&L. Now, jump into reporting here. If I'm someone in Intacct with the proper permissions, I can actually edit this report directly from a dashboard. So I can click that pencil. That brings me to the financial report writer. And from here, I can edit this. Now, if we remember what this looked like in our dashboard, here it is, just actual versus budget, quarter to date, P&L. Let's say we want to see a particular row on this report in more detail. Let's say, for example, we'd like to see travel broken out by department. Because of our dimensions in Intacct, we have the ability to come into our report writer and very easily expand travel expenses by department as one example. We can also expand by locations, which I'll show in just a second. But if I were to expand that by department, now I'm very easily seeing my travel expense broken out by those departments that I have in my environment. Let's say instead we want to break this line down by entities if we're a multi-entity environment. We can very easily, using dimensions in our reporting, break down those travel expenses by our 3 entities in this particular environment. One great thing about Intacct is that you get, I think it's around 60 now, canned reports with your subscription. So once we turn on your Intacct environment, you're going to get 60 reports. That includes income statements, balance sheets, cash flow, expense, revenue analyses, and various iterations of financial reports. What a lot of our clients do is they will utilize these canned reports like this P&L, actual versus budget. And maybe they like that original version, but they want to make a slightly different version. Instead of having to start from scratch, we can take any of those canned reports and duplicate them. So let's say this is our P&L actual versus budget. We'll call it V2. So I can take that canned report, duplicate it. Now, if you remember, we got to that report via a dashboard. But let's go ahead and take a look at our new report we just duplicated via the report center. So we can get to the report center via reports, report center. The report center is our one-stop shop for all of our reporting. So if I go ahead and refresh this, the report center is our one-stop shop for all of our reporting. And it's also a spot where we can see not only financial reports, but really any reports in the system. So that's going to include cash management, GL, AP, AR, so that instead of having to navigate through these menu options, we can just come here to see all of our reports. Now that report, that canned report that I duplicated is out here, and we can edit this and make it our own without touching that original canned report. So we have the canned report that Intacct originally provided, and we have a slightly different iteration of that. Other things to note are that we have the ability to export reports to any format, PDF, Excel, CSV. We can also schedule reports to go out and send them to a group of people or an individual user. And the same way we have the ability to limit permissions on a dashboard, we also have the ability to limit permissions on an individual report. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump into AP automation next. So let me go ahead and jump into that. Ready? Okay, so I will share my AP automation environment and get started. All right, so in Intacct with AP automation, we're able to streamline bill entry by automatically creating draft bills from documents that are either emailed or uploaded into the system. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. End goal here with AP automation is to help us eliminate manual entry errors and just automate the entire process so that we're not individually entering each bill like we may have in the past. So as I mentioned, if I come into my AP module, I'm going to have the option to either upload or email a bill into the system. Now, this functionality and the end result is the same. It's going to get into Intacct. So let's go ahead and just try this upload option. So we'll click upload. We're going to browse out to an AP bill that I have. This is a PDF. If we want to take a quick look at what this actual bill looks like while it's loading, it is just a sample AP bill that looks like this. So it's an Emeritus bill for some sort of insurance. When we upload or email that bill into the system, the first thing that we're going to see is that it's analyzing. So it's scanning that bill, it's determining whether we've uploaded similar bills in the past, and it's reading what it can from the bill. Once that document is read, we're going to get a draft bill. So let's take a look at this one that I processed earlier this month. What we're going to see on the left side is what the result of the system scanning this bill on the right side has resulted in. So it's going to read the vendor from this PDF. It's going to read the line level details. And then from there, we can edit this bill and start to teach the system. So let's say it did not pick up department. We could select department so that the next time the system sees a bill like this, it will know to code it to 300 operations. So that's just how AP automation works. As I mentioned, you can either upload, or if you sign up for AP automation, you get an email address. You can forward bills into that email address, and those pull in the same way. You can see here that we have emailed bills and uploaded. Now, another layer of this is called PO automation. So PO automation actually allows us to connect the purchasing process and the AP automation process. So let's take a quick look at an example of this. So in this environment, I have a purchase order that I created. PO 072. So let's take a look at this purchase order. It's a $5,000 purchase order for pens. It is tagged to certain dimensions. It's for 100 pens at $50 a piece, $5,000. So this purchase order was entered manually. The idea behind PO automation is that we have the ability to upload or email this bill into the system, and it will auto match it to an existing purchase order if it finds a match. So we can actually come into our automated transactions here, upload the vendor invoice once we receive it. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this, and while we wait for that to upload, just take a look at the PDF version of what I just uploaded. So let's say we received the invoice for that PO. This is the invoice. We upload that into the system, and then the system is able to analyze that bill and actually tie it back to that original purchase order. So in this case, this is one that we scanned in earlier. It was able to find an original match for that purchase order that we initially entered. Kayla, I'll go ahead and hand off to you for GL Outlier.
All right, thanks so much, Jane. Go ahead and share my screen. All right, Jane, can you, oh no, I gotta share. Can you see my screen now?
It is not up yet. There we go. Yep, I can see the GL Outlier Assistant.
Perfect. Okay. So Sage Intacct GL Outlier Detection is a machine learning service that uses your historical transaction patterns, evaluates current transactions in the approval cycle, and then flags transactions that do not match. So you can see over here in this screenshot that under the outlier column, there is alerts to notify either the submitter, so the person submitting the GL for approval, or the person approving it. So one, to configure the difference is GL Outlier Assistant would be to flag the submitter of the GL transaction, and then GL Outlier Detection is to flag the person approving it. So it gives, increased security, coding capabilities. The transaction patterns are different for every company. So the GL Outlier Detection learns from the specific data. And then as more data accumulates and you respond to outlier notifications, it evolves and adjusts the evaluation when detecting outliers. So it's part of the approval workflow. So I'll go ahead and just exit this PowerPoint here. So once we set that up, and actually it's under subscriptions, it's under the AI machine learning here, we would set up to be enabled. So this gives it the AI technology within your Intacct environment. And it's also, the rest of the demonstration today will also account for the AI machine learning capabilities. Then we go into the GL configuration. We look at the GL approval options, which there are quite a bit. So we can either create approvals or we can even create substitute approvals if we don't want to allow for submitters to approve their own entries. If we select Outlier Assistant, then again, that GL detection will happen when the user is submitting the GL entry. If there's anomalies or things that don't look consistent with the rest of the transactions, then it will notify the person submitting. If we uncheck that, it'll actually alert the person that's approving those transactions. We can manage the email notification frequency based off of individual transactions or daily summary, weekly summary, monthly summary. Do we not want any notifications? And we can turn those off completely. We can manage that by journal. And then we can also determine the dimension priority and the materiality threshold. So how accurate do we want the patterns to be recognized? And what dimensions are we looking at specifically? Department, program, project, right? The tasks. There's a variety of different dimensions that Jane just kind of talked through. And we have the ability to say which ones are priority to us to recognize in this GL outlier detection. We can decipher that by journal as well. So once we get the approvals, once we have journal entries that are pending approval, we will see those. And actually, let me just pull up this one here. You will see that outlier column and it would identify which ones need to be recognized before submitting, or maybe another, look at the coding, look at this is a new department and GL account combination, right? So it'll actually acknowledge you with those, the issues that we see. So AI automation in terms of the Sage Copilot is also something that's new with Intacct that gives us the ability to use AI on a regular basis. So this is a generative AI assistant, very much like Microsoft Copilot that a lot of you probably have heard. You can actually come in here. It's going to assist with the close process. So we're actually going to have automatic close, variance analysis. So being able to look at data and analyze data, and then just search help. So right now it's attached to our incredible help center, which is very well documented. So one thing that you can do is when searching in Copilot, you can say, please send me top 5 customers for revenue. And then it'll actually give you instructions on how to navigate that to get that report. So again, it goes a little bit step further than just going to the help center and identifying where you need to go. It actually gives you links to get to those financial reports. And in the next few months, it's going to be enhanced, like I mentioned, to help with close assistance, variance analysis. It's really going to be more of an assistant where you can actually automatically email from the system. So, please help me identify top 5 customers on the aging and email them, a dunning notice. So using that type of AI functionality to help just streamline the operations that we have within the system, just gives us a lot more, time to analyze the data. And then in terms of the multi-entity, we can also come in here and there's a couple options for multi-entity, the account mapping plan. So this is more of an advanced interentity mapping. So in this scenario, you have 2 entities and you have a intercompany receivable and an intercompany payable for each entity. So for example, entity A is 100. The due from entity 100 is in entity B because of that relationship, that specific relationship mapping. And then the payables is here as well. So we create this mapping to automatically post our due to, due froms. Another option is the basic account interentity mapping. So again, you can have one entity and then you have a specific receivable account and payable account. Or in this scenario, a very simplified version where you have the same receivable account and the same payable account for each entity. With that, we can create, so with the automation mapping, once we mapped that, a couple things that we can do is when we're entering an AP bill, we have the option to tag a location or entity. So we have, in this scenario, we've got a 100, which again, we can see down here in the drop down. Each one of these entities can be tracked separately, so they can have their own company data, or they can be consolidated at the top level. So this is just showing you how we are consolidating it at the top level. We've created an AP bill. We've created a transaction for $100 and mapped it to entity 100. Now, if I go into pay bills, I have the option to filter by entity. So if I go pay by entity, I can actually filter it. This will include entries by location or entity. So even if we have one AP bill, but it's posting to 5 or 6 different entities, this is where those transactions can be separated, and we can pay with specific checking accounts. So if I wanted to pay in full, I can filter there, and then I can go ahead and pay those per entity. Or I can go ahead and I can just select all. Maybe I'm going to pay them with all one checking account, which is this, Wells Fargo checking via check. Base currency is USD. We'll go ahead and pay. Some of these are getting paid via ACH or have a default payment method of ACH, so we can account for ACH payments as well. So 4 payments were requested. Once we go in and print those checks, then what that looks like, once we process those transactions, is we will actually see the automatic posting here under the cash disbursements journal. So here's an example of an AP bill that was paid with the Wells Fargo checking account, which was attached to the entity 100, and the AP bill was tagged to the Timberline Construction Group entity. So not only does it offset the accounts payable when you select it to be paid, it's going to trigger this inter-entity entry as well. So again, the due to, due from, that it's all automatic, so that you can create a consolidated report. I've got a couple consolidated report examples up here. And we can just quickly take a look at those. So again, we have our balance sheet accounts here. It's all summary level, and we've got each of the different entities. We can also account for different due to and due from accounts in the columns, so you can have a clear visibility on the transactions and how they're flowing intercompany. Here's another example of a non-USA profit and loss. So just like you saw earlier, and again, this is in a different base currency. So we can create consolidated reporting as well, based off of different currencies. And then this is another example here. In addition to the multi-entity options for advanced and basic, we also have what's called bill back templates. So we can actually create in one entity a AR invoice and map it to a specific revenue account, and then have a corresponding AP bill mapped to a specific cost account. And when we go to set up that AR invoice, it'll automatically create an AP bill back. So at the same time, if we go into our invoices here, this entity 100. So when we do select a entity or a customer that's attached to an entity, then we have the bill back template option pops up. We can assign a bill back template, and then that is attached to a bill number. So we can see that this automatically created a bill number in the corresponding entity with the same dimensions. So again, creating that efficiency and driving less manual workflows. All right, with that, I will go ahead and bring up our last few items here. Okay, so just to recap why organizations like you are choosing Sage Intacct real-time financial visibility. It gives CFOs up-to-minute data for accurate forecasting and faster, smarter decision-making, robust reports and dashboards that eliminate manual delays with AI-driven insights and real-time visibility, the multi-entity consolidation that simplifies complex financials across subsidiaries, currencies, and locations. We have enhanced cost control to quickly identify cost-saving opportunities with real-time expense tracking and analysis. There's seamless integrations with other key business systems and softwares that help streamline workflows and ensure smooth data exchange. And then the AI automation that streamlines processes, improves data accuracy, and then just saves time overall. This is all empowering financial leaders to act quickly and strategically, and smarter. All right. I don't see any questions in the chat. Jane, do you see any questions? I'm not sure if I'm looking at this correctly.
Nope.
All right. Well, with that, thank you so much for joining today's webinar. If you'd like to learn more about Sage, feel free to email us at inquire@compudata.com.